Good morning. You're out there, right? Chris, thank you for that very generous introduction. Now, when Weil asked me to join you at the 4A's conference, I must admit that a few thoughts immediately crossed my mind. I said, finally, a gathering of the industry's best and brightest, dedicated to sharing their stories about me and my accomplishments, my take on the world today, kind of like my own TED conference. You know, maybe experts from an array of disciplines scrutinizing my body of work, music, dancing into the wee hours, maybe taking in a Lakers game. Then I thought, yikes, what if nobody shows up? Well, you have. And seriously, as I look around this room, I'm energized. We all should be. Because we're entering, dare I say, the platinum age of advertising. We're on the cusp of greatness and opportunity like we've never seen before, with things like social media, giving agencies carte blanche to execute creative in media formats and lengths that were unheard of less than a decade ago. You want to make a 98-second commercial? Go for it. Put it on YouTube. If it's as good as you think, you've got it made. If it's not, well, let's just say you'll know right away. Advertisers have never, ever been able to engage in a discourse with consumers the way we can now. But such power is a dangerous thing indeed, and I caution all of you to wield it with care. Because today you really have no excuse to be tone deaf, off point, or lost. It's been amazing to watch the transformation of our collective business over the past 37 years. I could never have imagined when I first set foot right here in Los Angeles, 37 years ago, almost to the day, for my first day at Foot Cone and Belding. The town was so different. For one, I can see a lot more of it now that there's less of LA's legendary smog. You see, in 1977, there were 184 days when residents were advised to stay indoors due to the smog levels. That, thankfully, only happens a few times a year now. The hairstyles, the music, the culture, the very fiber of society were all dramatically different. Today, we live in an interconnected, multi-device, on-demand world. Our media plans used to be so simple: TV, print, radio. Now we have to navigate a web of consumer activity. TV shows encouraging live tweeting and encouraging people to work with 140-character messages and 6-second videos, or even messages and photos that self-destruct after being viewed. I mean, our vocabulary now includes terms like memes and emoticons and selfies, text acronyms like LOL or GOWI. That's get on with it. However, the fundamental notion of marketing and advertising is just the same as it's always been. It's about the creation of demand and desire to ignite growth. Pure and simple, nothing more, nothing less. And clients are still unappreciative, demanding, and nomadic. Now, I'm well aware that navigating today's world has gotten dramatically more challenging. When it comes to the selection of delivery media, the world is staggeringly complex. But in the end, we have a very simple job to do. We're here to create products or services and drive the consumption of those products and services. And from my perspective, the ongoing two common denominators to ignite growth are interpretation and creativity. Now, in this room, there are far greater creators and judges of creativity than I. On top of that, many of you have heard me talk in the past about how much my company and I value creativity. So I'm not going to go there today. Instead, I'm going to spend our time this morning talking about the other side of the value equation, the one that I think the agency business and many brands have perhaps lost sight of over the last couple of decades, and that's the value of interpretation. To me, there's no greater barometer of success than the ability to turn information into insight and insight into interpretation that leads to highly differentiated marketing solutions, solutions that effectively create demand and desire. There is obviously a great deal of change in the world that we live in together. What I want to know is, how does this change affect my customers and my company? And what are we going to do about it? What do our solution sets need to be in the marketplace in order to best serve and grow? Let me give you an example. There's an emerging economic force that is partly driven by technological innovation and partly fueled by economic and environmental pressures. Everyone is probably familiar with Zipcar, one of the world's largest car-sharing networks. Currently with over 850,000 members. The company was founded in 2000 when gas on average was $1.50 a gallon. With today's gas prices more than double and the odds that a car sits idle most of the 24 hours in a day, perhaps with the exception being here in car-loving Los Angeles, it's no wonder that car sharing has grown exponentially to the degree that car rental companies and even automakers like BMW have entered this category. Let me share some numbers that may explain why. According to a University of California Transportation Center study, each car-sharing vehicle reduces car ownership on average by 9 to 13 vehicles, which has considerable revenue implication for automakers. And let's not forget the cascading impacts of the adjacent businesses dealing in auto loans, insurance, auto parts, and servicing. In fact, according to a recent study published in Fast Company, by 2020, car sharing could account for a cumulative 1.2 million fewer vehicles, and the automakers are paying attention. The Atlantic reports that in 2010, adults between the ages of 21 and 34 bought just 27% of all new vehicles sold in America, down from a peak of 38% in 1985. Car mileage is down too. In addition, a number of companies with sharing models have emerged in other categories besides auto, such as real estate, retail, and publishing, to name just a few. Forbes estimates that the sharing economy's revenues will surpass $3.5 billion this year, with growth exceeding 25%. And if we look at the psychographics driving this growth, we can expect the trend to continue. In a survey conducted by Zipcar in 2011, they found that millennials are more likely to participate in share programs for cars, media, and homes compared to older generations. This finding suggests a fundamental difference in the way younger people view possessions and consumption, and raises compelling questions for relevant brands as we contemplate the implications for the longer term. For your clients, just how prevalent will these sharing programs and these sharing models become? And what industries will be most vulnerable to this shift? To what degree will this affect your client's business? I believe interpreting how these kinds of changes will affect your client's business is core to the value that you offer. A few months ago, I was reading the New York Times, as I do almost every day, and became engrossed by a special section on the evolving American family. Now, I highly recommend you read it because I think it's really worthwhile, but what I'll try to do is give you some highlights of this pivotal story. The traditional family structure, a powerful and fundamental social construct, has changed at an astonishing rate in this country in recent years, with the sudden onset and growing acceptance of complex families. As the New York Times writer observes, quote, "In increasing numbers, blacks marry whites, atheists marry Baptists, men marry men, and women women. Democrats marry Republicans and start talk shows." But the article does go on to highlight other family trends, like the rise in same-sex parenthood, the estimates of the number of children living with gay parents at close to 2 million, or 1 out of every 37 children under the age of 18. Families have absolutely become more egalitarian, with greater ethnic, religious, and stylistic diversity. The article captures yet another side of this rapid evolution in the family, which is the steadily falling rate of marriage, a trend for several decades, and now at historical lows, as well as the surprising falling divorce rate. The falling divorce rate is even more pronounced among middle and upper middle income couples with college degrees. For this group, fewer than 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce, providing these elite couples with greater resources. And that's the power, and that's a powerful advantage for the educated elite. What's startling about these changing patterns of the American family is that they rather abruptly occurred over the last generation, well within our lifetime. I mean, stop and think about the social, economic, demographic, and psychographic ramifications of the last 25 years. And now ask yourself the question, have I and has my agency adapted and progressed our thinking and understanding of the customer at the same or faster rate of societal change? Am I leading my clients through these changes and interpreting them for growth? Another example of a social shift. To gain a better understanding of our customer, American Express recently commissioned a study to examine how the attributes of success have evolved and what success means today. This list shows how the top 10 contributors to how people view success for themselves. Most Americans define their own success on being healthy at number 1 on the list. The rest of the list mostly includes the intangibles, finding time for important things, having a job you love, having time to pursue passions, and being able to make a difference in people's lives. All of these factors scored much higher as contributors to success than simply having a lot of money, which came in at number 20 on our list. Our culture has shifted from primarily judging success based on external displays of wealth to placing greater priority on living a fuller life. Now, we're interpreting these changes into the products that we're putting in the market, from new credit cards to full-service prepaid accounts. But payment products don't really capture who we are at American Express. Following the recent economic downturn, we noted that the one thing many people in various socioeconomic segments refused to give up were the services that had real meaning in their lives. So while we continue to see many new technological developments in payments, by interpreting this data, we know that our core values of trust, security, and service continue to be our competitive advantage that results in deep service-based relationships with our customers. It's in our DNA. Since 1850, we've been in the business of service, and it remains the foundation of who we are today. It informs everything we do as a company, and it will dictate who we want to be moving forward. I might add that our capacity to serve emerges from our ability to continually and unfailingly listen to our customers. In fact, service by definition is the output of listening and understanding. So while technology is introducing many competitors into our space, it's a little less daunting when we're guided by our North Star of service. I believe that too often we tend to think of change in a very singular mindset: technology. Now, of course, technology has changed, and it's changed our lives. I mean, sure, Netflix knows what I want to watch before I do. And I can tweet the whole world, and the whole world can hear me. All awesome things, and all great partners, by the way. But technology is not the real issue. It's not the root cause. It's an effect for sure. And I'm a firm believer that the internet may prove to be one of the greatest potential societal equalizers in the history of mankind. But the real driver of societal change is society itself, not your smartphone. There's no doubt many brilliant technologists are in the audience here today. You've all been lauded and most probably very well rewarded for your vision and your efforts. And I say, congratulations. More power to you, and keep it coming. I am, however, not one of those guys. I don't have the skill set, so I'm not going to even try to be one of those CMOs that professes to know where technology is taking us. It's not what I get rewarded for. I get rewarded for curating differentiated value for my current and future customers, and so should most of you. I don't do that by any one single medium alone, and nor should you. I do it by one single strategic method: interpretation, and so should you. At American Express, our scorecard gets posted every day at 4 p.m. when the New York Stock Exchange posts what people think we're worth. Many of you have that same public company lineage. Our value is based on our ability to acquire, sustain, and serve our card members and our merchant customers. That's our business model. And really, it's the business model of everyone in the agency business, to attract and service clients. Let me ask you, with a show of hands, how many of you in the audience are American Express card members? Give me a show of hands. All right. I'll stay. Would you do me a favor? Would you just shout out your member sense date? Now, I'm tempted to say, get over yourself. That date has no functionality. But that doesn't mean it has no meaning. Because in marketing and advertising, we love to talk about engagement. But I think the fact that our card members know the date they joined us is the most compelling evidence I have that we have a very engaged group of customers. Let me give you an example that is now a few years old, but for that reason gives us testament to the power of interpretation done well. As we do every day, back in 2010, we were studying the needs of small businesses. Just emerging from the Great Recession, this vital engine of our nation's economy needed a jump start. In a survey we commissioned, we observed that virtually all consumers, 93%, agreed that it's important for people to support the small businesses that they value in their community. And nearly 3/4 consciously shops at small businesses in their community because they do not want them to go away. Now, we recognized a unique opportunity to deliver on the primary need of small businesses, to get customers to their doorsteps, while at the same time tapping into a powerful consumer sentiment of supporting their local small businesses and preserving the vitality of their communities. We observed an opportunity. It was an opportunity, you see, because when we looked at the beginning of the holiday shopping season, we noticed that there was Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but nobody had taken Saturday. So we did, and we created Small Business Saturday, which launched on November 27th, 2010 to 1.2 million Facebook likes. The following year, the Senate officially recognized the day and unanimously passed a proclamation in support of it. In 2012, Americans turned out in droves to spend over $5.5 billion in one day in small businesses. And last year, consumer awareness of the day reached an all-time high of 74%. Small Business Saturday now establishes the Thanksgiving holiday shopping trifecta between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Small Business Saturday fuels local movements at national scale. And it was developed out of our understanding that our customers want to sustain their communities by supporting their local small businesses. That's how creating demand and desire happens. Perhaps it feels like lightning in a bottle, but the reality is that we need to aim that high, and we need to recreate that lightning over and over again. You know, we're aiming high again with several products focused on improving financial inclusion in the U.S. The sad fact is that the current financial system does not equitably meet the needs of all consumers. Disproportionately, a very large number of hardworking Americans, estimated to be as high as 70 million, are frustrated with their financial service options or lack thereof. These consumers may not have access to credit, are prone to challenging fees. So hundreds of our employees walked in the shoes of these customers to try to understand their needs and challenges, and we came to the conclusion that, simply put, moving and managing money should be a right and not a privilege. That's why we created two products. Serve, a full-service, reloadable prepaid account that's an alternative to debit, and Bluebird, a prepaid account offered in partnership with Walmart. The products are intended to bring better services to those who need it most. Now, we're still in the early days, but we're excited and inspired by our progress. For Bluebird, we saw over 1 million accounts in the first 9 months, and that number continues to grow. What's more important is the customer engagement. With over $2 billion loaded to date, people are using these products to manage their financial lives. The art of turning information into insight and insight into interpretation has been absolutely fundamental in helping us to get to these initiatives. We at American Express could not do these things that I've described without our agency partners. You have a very bright future, as long as you're willing to have the curiosity to understand what's going on in our world and the discipline to interpret it to help us grow our business. You are the experts. You are the professionals. And for most of you, it also means you must have the courage to tell someone in charge that they're wrong. And here's why. I love it when one of my valued agency partners tells me I'm wrong. It tells me that they're thinking about my business. It tells me that they care about my business and about the health of our company and our brand. And by the way, if you're not telling me I'm wrong or debating with me, you're not a valued agency partner, and you won't work for us for very long. You know, it's the same in society as a whole. I mean, just look at things like the Arab Spring or what's unfolded in the Ukraine these past few weeks. It's society telling their leadership they're wrong. Now, I've had the good fortune at American Express to work with great agency partners during my tenure. We've launched together over 200 new products. We've delivered customized service for more customers and growing our products in the marketplace. During that time, we've grown the American Express market cap to $99 billion, which reflects our resolve to understand and interpret what's happening around us so that we can ignite growth. Sticking to the core truths of your client's brand and then constantly interpreting their evolving customer base will not only grow their business, it will cement the value of your partnership. If a client doesn't value that continual pursuit, or you don't provide it, someone's relationship will die, either yours with the client or the brand's with the customer. My guess is it'll probably be both. I expect today and tomorrow, economics, technology, and social change will continue to evolve just as I've demonstrated in some of these cases. And it'll affect our industry. And for that matter, it's going to affect everyone's industry. Now, I have no crystal ball to know where any one variable, let alone all of them, will lead us. But here's what I do know. Your industry has a very, very bright future, as long as you are willing to relentlessly pursue understanding your customer's business, your client's business. As long as you have an insatiable curiosity about the world, as long as you interpret those insights to bring about growth, and most of all, the courage to make all of that happen. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.